Hello and welcome to the first Stingycast. I'm your host, James Handshakes Bauer. This week I'm joined with Matt Atkins.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Matt. Matt, what are you playing currently?
Currently I'm playing Titanfall a lot. I'm playing some StarCraft 2, a lot of League of Legends, and some Civilization 5.
You are a busy guy.
I'm very busy.
Alright. I'm also joined by Ethan Rivette.
Hello.
I hope I didn't say your name wrong.
Nope, that's right.
Okay, good. What are you playing currently?
Currently, I play the Halo games. I play the Batman games like Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and every now and then I play a League game or two.
Yeah, you're into the league?
Not really.
Alright. Poser. Alright, so let's go right into our first topic. So I want to talk about games that gave you the most hype, but were the most disappointing. And what I mean by this is games that you were so psyched for. You bought them probably day one, maybe you even pre-ordered them, and then you played it, and you thought, why did I buy this? And you got all sad. So for me, I think the number one game that comes to mind is Spore.
Oh, yeah.
I was so excited for Spore. There were so many videos. Robin Williams was telling me how cool it was. I was really hyped for Spore. And I think there's a lot of cool parts to Spore. It's definitely like the creature creator is really neat, but there's no game there. And as a game, I played it for all of 2 hours and never wanted to touch it again. So what do you guys think?
I remember that game, but I think media's to blame a lot for that too. Like they were coming out saying, this is going to be the end-all be-all game. This is going to be the best game ever played. They've been developing this game for decades. And I was just like, wow, this is going to be all my favorite parts of every game I've ever played, but all packaged into one. And I also had the same feelings where it just, because I was concerned it would just be another Sims game. But
In a sense it was, because you started the game for 5 minutes and you forgot about it and you made it another creature.
Yes, it's a good point. I definitely like your point about the media being hyped about it. Like they were. I remember them talking about it as if this was like a transformative game. Like we were never going to look at games the same way again.
I mean, I remember it being on like CNN. You know?
Yeah. It got like mainstream media attention, which should almost be a tip-off. Because like here's people who don't care about games and won't after this game comes out. Still won't care about games. No matter what. So.
I feel like there was a big push. That one was cross-platform, correct? So,
I thought it was just PC.
Was it on PC?
It might have been Mac or something. What do you mean cross-platform? It definitely wasn't console.
No, there was no console versions of it.
I don't think so. I could be totally wrong about that.
They might have done it like a port.
We should probably Google that.
It would be a long time ago.
Google the rest.
So what about you, Matt? Games.
Gears of War Judgment.
Really?
Awful.
For those of us who don't know, which one is that? Is that the second, the third?
It's the prequel, so
the prequel.
It's the fourth.
It's the most recent one.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was it? Was it the abysmal multiplayer that I think it was the multiplayer the most. The story was whatever. I like Barry as a character, but it was really short. Each mission felt like a sprint. Hey, here's point A, get to point B, kill some locusts along the way. All right, that's fine. That's kind of what Gears of War 1 was, but it didn't have all the uniqueness of Gears had worn out by then, and the one-liners and the Nasher shotgun, blowing things up. It didn't bring a lot of new stuff, and the multiplayer brought a lot of new stuff, but it was all awful. And it was mostly the absence of stuff, and I think that's why it was one of the biggest regrets I've ever had, in that there were no more locusts in the multiplayer. It was humans versus humans, which it sounds really dumb, but it's a big component to have like an us versus them in the multiplayer. More as just like, hey, their armor's red, let's go kill them. It's like, no, these guys, in a story, you think they might kill you. And there was a lot of banter between the two teams that I think contributed to the feel and the atmosphere of the game. It was a big DLC fest too, and I think that's what another thing is a big regret is you bought there was 4 some maps in the multiplayer to begin with. You only got more through the DLC, but you were paying $60 for this game, so it's
yeah.
It was not good.
I find it interesting that you brought up Gears of War Judgment because I think that's one of those games. Even I know you were excited for it, but you like Baird.
I like Baird.
And the thing is, nobody likes Baird. So, like, I don't know how many people were excited for Gears of War Judgment. I never played it, and it does sound that it was surprisingly bad.
Yeah.
Like, everybody just expected another Gears of War game.
It was critically not, it was, I guess, critically and commercially successful, but everybody had that bad taste in their mouth after buying it. It's like, I paid for this?
Yeah. So another game that I fell for and I actually pre-ordered was Brink.
Yeah.
I don't know if and Ethan, you've probably never played Brink. Have you played Brink?
I never played Brink, but I saw the trailers for it, and I saw the reviews, and I kind of felt like a lot of people were going to be disappointed by it.
See, I fell for it. I saw the trailers, and I know the developer, and they made some hardcore, PC multiplayer games in the past, team-based. So I was excited about that. It was all about the parkour and the fluidity of the combat, and it was just this buggy, awful mess. And also, just it wasn't fun. It didn't play well.
I heard it was very limiting, that your classes actually dictated like how far you could actually get. There were hard limits. Like you couldn't do this if you weren't, like a soldier or something.
There's a lot wrong, and just as a multiplayer game, it just wasn't like designed well. The levels were really poor, and it was a big surprise, a big shock to me. And I think I know I've pre-ordered games since then, but that's my fault. It's because I'm dumb. It was one game that made me stop pre-ordering games. That made me like have a conscious effort. Like, you know what? It's probably not a good idea to pre-order games. Which is kind of how I feel. Because really, what do you get when you? I know there's pre-order incentives.
There's bonuses. That's really the only point.
Like you really
guarantee that you're going to get a game within But to me, unless you're pre-ordering like a limited edition, there's almost no point to it anymore because there's so many like the basic copies that.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get the basic copy when it comes down to it. It's not there were the old days where you would go and you couldn't find a copy on day one.
Yeah,
and I guess that may still happen now, but I don't like the idea of like putting my money out for something that may be good. Like I don't know. I want that verification. I mean, you'll notice that nobody makes demos anymore.
that's true.
And I think that's part of it. Like, why bother going through the trouble of making a demo? Because all you're going to do is turn people off. You're like, how rare is it that you're really going to... Somebody's going to be like, I don't know anything about this game. Play this demo. Oh, this is great. And I think that happens, and I love demos back when they used to be a thing. But yeah, it's not something you do anymore. And I think that's all part of that whole pre-order.
It's not a console thing, but it's definitely a mobile thing. So they get many light versions for free there, limited functionality.
That's true, yeah.
But that's the only place it exists anymore.
Last game you bought and played because of the demo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I'd probably have to go back like 15 years, like back to like PC gaming days. So.
Fusion Frenzy.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying everybody knew that demo. Everyone played the demo, and even if you enjoyed that party style game, like the demo was good enough. Like
sure, yeah.
We were making do with the demo. I remember the first time I saw an actual version of Fusion Frenzy somebody owned. I went, why do you own this? It's on every disc, right?
Oh man, Fusion Frenzy.
Get it together. Matt hasn't played Fusion Frenzy.
I did not.
So this actually came up the other
you didn't have an
day.
Xbox?
I had an Xbox, but I played Halo 2 on it, and that was it.
Oh, okay.
Like that, the disc never left the tray.
Well, there's two, I guess, when it comes to hype. One was hype that came from an external source, as in I got excited because I saw the hype that media and other means were doing. And then there's hype that I personally was hyped for because of it. And one was, the one I was personally excited for that ended up failing me was The Hobbit. It's a game for the Xbox. It's right after, I saw it right after the other Lord of the Rings movie or games. And I enjoyed those Lord of the Rings games for the Xbox. So I thought, oh yeah, what a natural progression. I'll play The Hobbit for Xbox, and it should be fairly enjoyable. And I went to the store, and there's a story there at the Meijer that I went to. Like, a price tag sticker had fallen onto it, so it looked like it was only $19. And I was really excited. I was about to get this game for $19, and they're like, no, it's actually $50. And I was like, oh, well, I really like The Hobbit, so I'll cough up the extra $30, bring it home, played it, and it was the worst game I've ever played. Like, not the worst game I've ever played, but it was doing everything wrong. It was kind of like one of those Zelda games, like, where you run around and you're trying to solve puzzles and you have to move blocks into certain positions and then climb on them, but The
Just like in The Hobbit, right?
The gameplay was bad, and the camera. I mean, for me, when camera angles, like, especially this was on the Xbox, you know.
Yeah, we're past camera problems, but
and yeah, like glitchiness, like glitches to the point where I had to restart the game. Like, couldn't revert back to a checkpoint, so then I had to like create a new game, a new file in order to continue playing the game because you got stuck somewhere. So that was the one that was disappointing, that I blame myself for getting my own hopes up.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that I think was much more hyped, and partially my own hopes also, was Halo Wars, because I was very much into the Halo, and I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds so cool. Like, you're going to have different teams of Spartans, or you're going to have like the UNSC force versus the Alien Covenant force, and you might even have a Flood force, and then they have different casts. They have like your general, they have your sergeants and lieutenants, and then your grunts. And I thought, oh, this is going to be perfect, and you're going to be able to be playing with lots of people online, and you're going to be able to zoom in and shoot other people. And I thought I was going to have the first-person shooterness of Halo, and then it just ended up being like a really basic real-time strategy. And I was quite disappointed. The cinema, I liked the cutscenes. The cutscenes were beautiful.
Sure.
They did not disappoint, and that's probably part of the hype around it. I saw all the cutscenes leading up to the game, and I went, oh, I can't wait for this. These cutscenes, you know, they actually could draw humans. You know, the original Halos were terrible at showing humans.
Sure, yeah.
So that's mine.
So about Halo Wars, was that I've never played it, but I know the developer. The guys who made Age of Empires. It's a pretty good studio. So, Ensemble, right? So was that a genuinely bad game, or was that more like expectations? Like I mean, part of it is like you don't make an RTS on a console. That's just a bad idea. That's like Land War in China.
That was a big part of it. Like, I'm sitting here trying to play this RTS, and I'm using my joystick to get around, and I would say it wasn't a bad game, but it was so basic as far as what options you had. Because I'm not real well versed in RTSs, but most RTSs I have played had more options, and there was a lot more going on. There was a lot more, and I think to a point when RTSs become more complex, that's where you'll see a division in people's skill level. Because if it's just very basic, like I'm playing this at 100% capacity all the time. Like, I'm cranking out grunts as fast as I can. I'm upgrading them as fast as I can. There's nothing else for me to do.
Did you play this, I imagine, online?
Yeah, I tried it online a few times, but I actually bought it.
Right.
Yeah.
I bought it and played it too online.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I want to say that there is more you can do. And I don't know if your experience was limited, but the game isn't, just churn out grunts all the time. There's definitely different strategies, and the more effective you become at it, the more it kind of exponentially grows. In that, you can start out, I'm going to turtle and mass vultures and send them at my enemy in 20 minutes. That seems to be what happens, when they're all first playing. Because that's what me and my friend did in the twos game. We would wait, I would build scarabs, he would build vultures, and we'd send them at the enemy base and go find their scarabs and vultures. And then I started playing by myself a lot more, and I love the Covenant. And we discovered there's this thing called the Profit Rush, which is a very cheap strategy. And it revolves around you get your profit almost immediately. You send it over there, and you go and you drop a beam of death on his face, and you keep on screwing him up, and you micromanage the crap out of it so he doesn't die. Your profit doesn't die. And then at the same time, you're teleporting units over there. And that's the basic strategy, and that's kind of like an entry-level, mid-level strategy. But then you start to see that people will start countering that by, better microing their units. And then it goes to, the Hawks are the new unit, right? And people will send those against you, and they can move really fast, and they can cut your land units really well. And as a Covenant player, you kind of learn to adjust that by effectively micromanaging your army. So I think it comes down to the more experience you have with it, the more options become available, and that'll lead to better controls. It's not ideal for an RTS, but I think they did a pretty good job, and I think the campaign's basic enough to appeal to a casual audience as well, without having to put a lot of thought into it.
So I think this is interesting because we got like the two perspectives here. Because you are an RTS player, you like StarCraft too. So you came into it exactly knowing what it was, I assume, and
A little bit more, I guess. I got it mostly so I could play with my one friend who likes Halo games, and it kind of grew on me. I like the strategy aspect of it.
okay. So as a strategy game, you think it doesn't actually fall down?
For a console strategy game, I
Okay,
think it does okay.
Sure. Okay. So you still have that stipulation of like there is a limitation.
There is a limitation because playing StarCraft before coming into this, it's kind of weird not being able to just free drag and select a box of the amount of units you want to send, and still it gets kind of finicky to select. I just want to send this cluster of units, and they've made certain ways you can group them. It's still kind of a hassle, and feels weird on a controller. But once you get used to it, you can do all right with it.
And to that point, I think I was definitely, and I don't know whether it was my influence or my own hopes, but I was not expecting this just to be another RTS. And I was expecting some sort of hybrid game.
Okay.
Not a straight up RTS.
I think a lot of people had gotten the idea when it came out that it was going to be a strategy game, but then you could also zoom down and control your Spartans individually.
Right.
I think that was a big hope for it, and it never happened.
I think the trailers kind of insinuated that a little bit. Like, I remember part of the trailer was you were looking through the scope of a sniper, and you were like with a sniper and a scout, and I was sitting there going, "Oh, I can't wait to do that part of the game."
Right.
And it was just a cutscene,
I never did buy the game because I always just assumed it wasn't going to be my cup of tea, but I guess because I knew Ensemble, I had played the Age of Empires game, I was not surprised to know that it was just a straight-up RTS. And like I said, I figured it would at least be a pretty competent one, though, because Ensemble's
Respected.
very respectable. Was the respect. They're not around anymore, but they were a big deal back in the game.